welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dansk Automobile Sports Union F4 Esports Danish Championship for 2025. It is a season that has been hotly anticipated, and after a fantastic 2024, we are back once again for a full-on season of frantic racing action. We're here today in round number 1 of the championship at the one and only circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, and in the commentary booth you have myself, Paul Walsh, and also Hasse Roma. Good evening to you, Hasse, and well, good evening to you all tuning in, but to my co-commentator, who's always got a smile, and a man who's always been by the side throughout the entirety of the build-up to this season. Hasse, welcome to you as well, and how are you feeling for today?
Well, thank you so much, Paul, and I'm feeling great. And I just have to add that I have never heard a non-Danish speaker nail Danish like you did right there. That was spot on, mate. We've really been looking forward to this one. Spa, of course, you did the maths just before, Paul. 45% of the grid tonight has this as their favorite track. So there's going to be no doubt that we're going to see some tight racing here. And it's really going to be about, I think, as much about luck and tactics as about skill here tonight.
Oh, 100%. With these Formula 4 machines, they are incredibly close and they can run from head to tail, up and down the field, lap after lap. And we can see an absolutely brilliant calendar there. We start off today because it is January the 20th, but we start off at Spa. We then head to Okayama, then to Zandvoort. That's the first half of the season. Then Donington Park for round number 4 on March the 3rd. Navarra in Spain in round number 5. And then to Sebring International to wrap things up. And Sebring, the second most popular circuit from our drivers, 40% of them voting that it was a circuit they were looking forward to out of all of them. So it does mean there's some absolute highlights of circuits here, and indeed a fantastic variety of circuits, all available on the iRacing simulator platform on which this series is being hosted. I mean, Hasse, we couldn't ask for a better combination of circuits, and also in Division 1 we couldn't ask for a better combination of drivers.
We have some real talent, some of the very best that Denmark has to offer, and a really nice selection of tracks as well. I think Navarra is going to be, I wouldn't say the odd one out, but that's going to be one to really watch out for. It's a relatively new one to the iRacing sim, and thus I don't think a lot of the drivers are going to be that familiar with it. I think a lot, and I was about to say hundreds of laps. We're going to see thousands of practice laps coming into that one. Anyway, Paul, it seems we have qualifying. Here's Malte Ebdrup, the number 22 car Arctic Sim Sport driver, qualifying up and running about now. So the grid order for Heat 1 is very much up for grabs here. And do remember that for the second heat, we have a reverse grid order for the top 8 drivers. So that's really something to look out for as well.
Oh, 100%. And with regards to drivers, a number of them spending a lot of time in the simulator. Melda there in particular, not just a sim racer, but also a real-life racer, having raced in a number of real-life series, including, I do believe, none other than TCR Denmark, unless I'm mistaken. So there's a lot of real-life and also simulator experience being combined and on the line today, as this qualifying session has 8 minutes left on it. And, well, like you were saying there, Hassan, the fact that we do have 2 races on our schedule for today. The first one's grid being set by this qualifying session, and then the results of race number 1 will dictate the flow of the grid into race number 2. But the thing is as well, you want to score big in each and every race. It's no good just to settle for second in race number 1, because it's all the points up for grabs in each and every race. And well, this Spa-Francorchamps circuit absolutely relentless as our drivers continue to put those laps in. And also it looks like we've got some rather nice conditions as well here today, and the fact we've got the sun shining as well. The sun is shining in an all new championship season.
Definitely so. I think a lot of people would expect this to be a place where it could rain. Not today. I think a lot of the drivers will be plenty satisfied with that as well. On board with Malte Ebdrup, just to see how he tackles this Spa-Francorchamps circuit in the Belgian Ardennes.
Oh, indeed, and roared into the Ardennes, and this circuit being a far cry from its originally envisioned layout all the way back in what was the 1940s and 1950s, being the best part of a 15-mile run, if my memory serves me correctly. Nowadays, to the extent of what is 7 kilometres or 4.35 miles, depending on whether you're imperial or metric, but regardless there, in the fact that it is a circuit that's become a staple of international motorsport, and these Formula 4 machines, in the fact they will be maxed out on the straight, such as on the Kemmel Straight. But as we ride on board with Edward here, as he makes his way down towards Puron Corner, well, now the focus really settles in, as it's all about carrying as much speed as possible. And these Formula 4 cars, they're not the fastest out there, but they've got plenty of aero on them. Combine that together, what it means is every mile now you can carry into and out of corner apex, that is going to be worth tenths of seconds in the entirety of the lap. But look at this composure, Hasse. I mean, the direction change is very rapid fire there through the middle chicane in where is the second sector, now coming towards the end of the lap, but thankfully now he can settle down and just blast out Stavlo too.
Yeah, and he'll definitely want to, as you see, just even not taking the car all the way to the edge of the track, mostly because he doesn't need to. But the less you turn, the quicker you go on the straight here, and it's about finding every kilometer an hour of speed to carry it down through Blanchimont here. In some cars, this is some of the scariest stuff in the world to go right here, and a little bit of a mistake here will be a massive crash. But imagine in these F4 machines, it'll be anything but. I should completely flat out into the bus stop, right, then left. Maximum send here from Malte Ebdrup, just about keeps it within the lines I would expect here and across the line. Let's see where that puts him.
Well, the time's coming in, and we're getting our initial times in this qualifying session. We can see they're going P2 for Ebdrup immediately as he heads on through into La Source. Now we look to Luke Reiner, who moves on across that line. And where does he sit? Currently down in P17. He sliced on, that's P18. But then again, given the fact they do have a bit of time, the one thing about this lap at the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, compared to a lot of our circuits on the calendar, it's one of the longer laps around here. And what that means is qualifying really is at a premium. You've got to nail it from the get-go. Whereas at much shorter circuits, such as Navarra, for example, you have a little bit more time on your hands, so if a mistake creeps in right at the start of qualifying, it's less of a worry. But we ride on board here with Reimer as he pounds his way down the Kemmel Straight, and I suspect we're going to be seeing 2, 3, perhaps even 4 wide down here, Hasse, when we go racing.
It's actually funny because when you see these F4 machines at a track where you're used to seeing Formula 1 cars and such, they look absolutely tiny. Put another way, maybe the track looks massive. And I guess it is as well. It's relatively wide all the way through. Of course, this middle section down to Brussels and through Speaker's Corner, that left-hander coming up down the hill here, it's ever so slightly narrower, and the drivers will have to take that into consideration. But this is a grade A FIA circuit. Of course, Paul, it leaves plenty of room for racing.
Oh, 100%. And with there being plenty of room, and these machines are very comfortable at racing side by side, I wouldn't be surprised if we potentially see entire sections, if not entire laps, where it's too wide, depending on how willing our drivers are to go toe-to-toe. Now, speaking of our drivers here, we do have a number of new faces on the grid. We also have some returning faces, and we'll talk a little bit more about those individuals as we go along through today. But with a whole variety of experience here, I mean, Hasse, it's going to be just as much, say, about the drivers who are veterans wanting to go one step further and chase that championship crown, whereas you've got the newcomers, they've almost got to fight for their place here today. I mean, they've earned the right to be in Division 1, but the flip side of the coin, as we jump on over the top here of Noah Carlson, is the fact that they'll want to earn the respect of their veteran rivals.
Yeah, and I think all of the newcomers especially want to make that name for themselves in the league. They want to show their worth and really show that they belong here in the top division. And of course, that sometimes puts a little bit of extra pressure on them, but I think actually it's a little bit easier coming from behind and maybe not having that much expectation on you. Noah Carlson here, I think a little bit of a glitch there in the timing, but Noah Carlson, I think, just putting in the fastest lap, if I'm very much not mistaken.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. Goes fastest, but then Sørensen moves even higher. That's Fredrik LJ Sørensen, who moves to pole position by 300. It's so close right now between Carlson and Sørensen, but the time is running out in this session. They won't have much longer to go. And, well, only 2 of our drivers set in 2-minute 20s. Everyone else in the 2-minute 21s or lower here. And I think right now it just goes to show you how close our competitors are. And keep in mind, when we talked a little bit earlier about the number of practice laps going in order to be able to get into Division 1, I'm likely to compete in what was a time trial at the Alton Park circuit. And keep in mind, this year we have 5 divisions. Out of all of our drives, 13,000 laps were turned in order to get through Alton Park to get here and see who would be on this 22-car grid. And as we ride on board with Victor Trudzev Nielsen, well, Nielsen right now in that number 21 car, currently P3. He really is the best of the rest outside of the top 2, but I mean, saying the best of the rest, I say it's only a 10th between him and Marcus Olsen. It could not be closer.
No, it's quite close, especially with the top 2. As you said, 300ths of a second. You can see the halo of Victor Trudzev Nielsen's car. It says, if you're in control, you're not going fast enough. And it looked to me he had quite the moment there coming out of the opening chicane sort of section there, the right-hander, Malmedy, I believe it's called, if I'm not completely mistaken. Down towards Stavelo here. You can see it's on the limit stuff, but it's even a little bit of a ragged lap will cost you time, and at this level it just has to be so close to perfect, Paul, that you just have to respect the effort being put in here. A minute left on the clock, which means that I think the drivers that are doing their hot laps now, well, it will most certainly be the final ones coming in here. So it's now or never for all of those drivers who haven't quite put the lap together yet.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we were talking about in the build-up to today's season opener about the fact in our experience, we spend a lot of time just trying to get it right around a lap. These guys spend the time trying to find every thousandth out there. And as Nielsen makes his way through the last two corners, where's he going to go? Currently, of course, P3. Can he move his way onto that front row of the grid? Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Cross line does not improve by looks of things and stays P3 as we see some late improvements there from the 22 of Edrup and also there from Simonson, who moves up to P8. And meanwhile, we look to Nicolai Peterson as he makes his way across the line here. And well, as he does so, what's it going to be? Can he move a little bit further up the order? He moves up to P11, does Pearson, and a lovely lap there just gets him outside the top 10. And well, we've now got that checker flag about to come out in this qualifying session. We're looking at Sander Bruberg, and well, as he makes his way down and upwards, well, that's going to be qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. There is no overtime, and we head to the grid for our first race of the day. Take it away, Hasse.
Well, it's Frederik Sørensen on pole position, joined by Noah Carlson on the front row, Victor Solslø Nielsen in third with Markus Olsen in fourth place, and then Aske Lauritsen and Malte Ebdrup on row 3. Row 4 will be Sebastian Bach and Niklas Simonsen. Gustav Kille and Luke Reimer will be completing the top 10 with Nikolaj Pedersen and Niklas Vejen just outside in 11th and 12th. 13th is Sander Broberg with Kasper Rishøj Andersen in 14th. 15th, Martin Buch-Battersen, and then Markus Terkelsen in 16th place. Mads Lunde gets 17th with Jens Christensen in 18th place. And then the final 3 cars on the grid is Vitus Bever in 19th with Kasper Tungstad in 20th, and Magnus Jørgensen rounding off the grid 21st. And just a second down, it's not the biggest spread we've seen over a qualifying session, Paul.
Oh, most definitely not. I mean, a second sounds tiny, but for these guys, a second is effectively life or death when it comes to pole position or being at the back of the field. That's how tight it is. And as our drivers all get themselves onto that grid one by one, well, there's going to be a number of drives to watch out for here. Personally, Hasse, I think one of the drives to watch out for will be Markus Olsen, who starts P4 in this grid. Given the fact that last year he finished P3 in the Division 1 Championship, he's going, in his own words, for the crown this year, and he'll be looking up for an absolute lightning start off that second row. But elsewhere down the grid as well, we've got plenty of drivers who are eager to make an impression. Kasper Tungstad, who I believe this is his first season in what is the F4 Esports Championship, and therefore starting from towards the back, he's going to work his way up. But as everyone gets themselves set, in your opinion, Hasse, I mean, if there are any other drivers that you're looking out for, who's your pick?
Well, Frederik Sørensen got pole position, and we saw Markus Olsen in some of the build-up for this season being very, very strong in the F4 car as well. So I think for me it'll be those two, but it's too hard to call. I couldn't call anyone. Paul, take it away for the start here.
Well, the lights are going on, ladies and gentlemen, and with all our drivers on the grid, 20 minutes of racing. Indeed, this championship gets underway. Well, our first race of the season, the 2025 season, is underway as they roar their way down towards turn 1, in towards La Source, 3 wide in the mid-pack there. One driver out onto the grass, but manages to catch it. Couldn't quite discern who that was. Oh, goodness me, we've had a major incident involving multiple drivers further down, and well, it seems that most drivers have been able to get recovered there, but a little bit of chaos and carnage at the start, but that's to be expected when they're all very eager to make a good start. But immediately now, as they head their way up through Rouge and Radion, our drivers now begin to calm down, and well, now it's going to be the long drive down the Kemmel Straight here into the Ardennes Forest. And well, Sørensen has a brilliant start, still leading, but meanwhile Noah Carlson in P2, he's been absolutely swarmed here as they come down towards the braking zone. Velecom and Malmedy, here they go. It's going to be 3-4 wide almost, and I think some drivers here just deciding where they want to position in all this, but sweep around the outside there by Nielsen up into P2. Meanwhile, Markus Olsen as well squeezes his way into P3, and Edrup makes his way up into P4. Carlson is marched down the order into P5, but it's not over yet, Hasse, as they head down towards Brussels.
Oh, it's anything but over, Paul. What a brilliant start there. Frederik Sørensen and Victor Solslø Nielsen just going side by side for a moment. Had a tiny touch there into the Malmedy section, so good job getting that off without any further bad luck. I think it was about 4 or 5 cars actually involved in that incident. I'm sure our lovely producer is going to give us some images of that before long. But it's been a great opening lap for the opening 3 there. Markus Olsen up into 3rd place, Malte Ebdrup 4th, and then Noah Carlson in 5th place now.
Well, the drives roar the way through the Vantage chicane. We've got two wide in that is Pearson and also Luke Reimer battling as Reimer goes a little bit wide there and will drop down the order. We jump on board with Nicholas Vine meanwhile, and he's currently in P11, the number 8 driver, who having started P12 gaining 1 place. And as he draws his way out, Stavlo 2 now in the long draft as our drives all make the way up towards Blanchimont corner. And well, it's going to be the game of follow the leader, but given the fact the leader from what is the car of Vine here is only 3 seconds up the road, well, that does mean that for Aura drivers as they settle into the end of this first lap, well, it's going to be about now not breaking the toe too much, but saying that it's going to be about on the brakes. They come down to the bus stop chicane, and Olsen looking around the outside. Nielsen, too wide they enter, too wide they exit, do they? And in fact, Marcus Olsen now up into P2. I mean, I said he was one to watch out for starting P4, and he's already showing it as we go on to another lap.
And already showing himself in the mirrors of Frederik Sørensen as well. Brilliant opening lap is there from Marcus Olsen, you have to say. And a rough one for Noah Carlson, down into 5th place from starting 2nd. He would have been hoping for more. Further down, we got to hand it to Magnus Janssen, who's won 6 places on the opening lap. Maybe due to that little bit of an incident in turn 1. But still, you got to keep yourself out of that stuff to be able to make the gains there. So good job for him as they're too wide onto the Kemmel Straight. And here's the replay of that turn 1 incident, Paul.
Well, as we take a look back, it seemed as though there one of our drivers briefly being clipped on the apex of the source, and then everybody afterwards just coming on in. But meanwhile, we come back to live action. The 3 wide in towards the chicane sequence at the top of the long straight. And well, as our drivers now make the way on out of what they call the Melody. Well, it is going to be a Melody here as they roar the way down towards Brussels corner, and it does seem as though Nielsen's still holding on, even though Marcus Olsen is throwing everything at this. You'd think he was racing after the championship crown already on what is lap number 2 of the first race of the season. And well, that goes to show you how much it means to him. And well, as we ride on board here with Multi Edbrup as he makes his way down towards Pullman corner. Well, right now rolling in what is P3. He's made a lot of progress. In fact, having gains down that run down the Kemmel Straight. And well, the number 22 driver, I get the feeling here he's become a little bit of a dark horse in the Fat Hasser. He's made a lot of progress and he's just suddenly making his way out the field. But what's happened here?
We've had an issue for Niklas Simonsen, I'm afraid. And we'll see just what happened to him a little bit later. We gotta hand it to Victor Torslev Nielsen. It's been a great start for him. Frederik Sørensen, Paul, lost about 3 places, I think, down the run to the Kemmel Straight last time around. But you know, the toe is just so powerful in these cars as the speed isn't really all that high. The top speed, there we have it just getting a little bit too far off on the right-hand side. So anyone who knows this track will know that there really isn't a lot of grip once you go past that green AstroTurf in Pujon. As they come through Blanchimont too wide, and we're about to see some more action into the bus stop here. It's Victor Torslev Nielsen leading Malte Edrup and Marcus Olsen. Malte Edrup there on the outside. Oh, and he keeps it under control. That is quite the move sideways in the first bit of the bus stop there as he takes the lead. The number 22 car is out to win it here tonight, Paul. What a move.
Oh, indeed, Edward absolutely going all in there, and now it's about can he break away as they head onto another lap, ruining their way out of the source. We've got 2 wide further back in the battle for P4. That is between Sørensen and Lauritsen, and Asker Lauritsen has made quite a bit of progress since the start of this race, albeit getting back to P5, having started there, it should be said. So that progress after an early regress, but now as all the drivers make the way up the hill, we're heading on for Rouge and Radion, and now down they'll go the Kemmel Straight. We'll notice here that Edrup and what is it, Nielsen going side by side nice and early, trying to break the tie. I think the 2 of them trying to work together, because Marcus Olsen's going to go around the outside. He picks 1, he picks 2, and the whole field tucks it behind Olsen. They see the way, he shows them the light, and the number 1 driver makes his way to lead this race as they go into the braking zone. Sørensen meanwhile tucks in behind, and that is going to be a swap around there as quickly as they go into lead. Well, now Edrup and Nielsen are down to P3, P4. They're fighting, they give each other enough room. I think neither driver wants to give way, as we have got, I believe, with a drive-through penalty for the number 2 car, and that would be the car, unless I'm mistaken, Hasser, of what is it's going to be Sander Gruber, as he's picked up a penalty, I think, for the opening collision.
Yeah, definitely. So it has, it has to be that touch into turn 1 that he's penalized for, and I believe rightfully so. The stewards are not going to be lenient with anything here, and of course, why would they? Because a little mistake like that to just ruin the race of several of the other drivers here. Kasper Rishøj Andersen is on board with the number 12 car, battling for 10th place. I believe that is 9th and 10th. And so much action all the way around the field at the moment here. Eskild Lauritsen, the number 13 machine, he's in 7th. Just 1.8 second from him to the race leader. But any of those sort of gaps that open up sort of past, I believe 1.3, 1.5 seconds, it's going to be serious trouble because, as we know, a car or a pack of cars move that much quicker down the straights with the tow, and the added benefits of someone in behind you as well. That does gives a little bit of an advantage, and that means that it can be really, really hard to close the gap, unless, of course, Paul, that we see fighting like this, 3 wide down towards the bus stop yet again.
Well, 3 wide into the bus stop, and then they decide to devote themselves to Noah's Ark and go 2 by 2 through the corners and out. And as they roar the way out, Marcus Olsen retakes the lead with Fredrik Sørensen behind him, Peter, and there's Nielsen and Edrup behind. Oh, a spin at the rear of the field. Couldn't quite see who that was. Were you able to see it, Hassett? Because that, I think, is going to send repercussions in the top 10.
Well, that could be... I'm not quite sure, actually, I must admit. Didn't quite catch a glimpse of it, so we'll have to see on the replay just who that was. I think, Paul, something that I thought about with this race is that it's going to be quite tactical, really, because they can fight it out like this every time down the straight, and someone just holds off that a little bit might just be able to keep his heart rate and such, and his nerves maybe as well, under that little bit extra control. Or I might be completely wrong, and we're just going to see full send 3 wide down into the comp here every single lap of this race, which could quite happen with the contact, and it's Marcus Olsen in the number 1 car, and it's Fredrik Sørensen, the pole sitter as well. Big drama, and hardly even halfway through the race. We've been racing for just over 8 minutes here, Paul. This is going to be heartbreak for the both of them.
Oh, indeed, and well, that is going to hurt massively. And those two drivers are both absolutely giving it everything. That is going to reset them now a long way down the order. Olsen has dropped to P10 to give you an example there, and Sørensen back up to P11. He's battling with what is Hirensen. And meanwhile, here is what happened. So there was a bit of a tap there coming out the bus stop chicane, which sent our number 8 driver of Nickers Vine around. And then we just seen the replay there of Olsen being collected alongside his rival coming into Lacombe. And well, when the margins are that narrow, you are going to make contact. But for the uninitiated, we should point out we do have a live shooting panel shooting all these races. It is our panel of 3 judges, as they self-coin themselves, and we'll have the opportunity to catch up with some of them in the build-up to tonight. And well, we might get a word or two from them over the course of the season, or at least I'll be able to pass on some thoughts from them. But I can tell you one thing, our judges are going to be scrutinizing every instant there, and we'll keep you updated, ladies and gentlemen, when we do see any penalties arise, even if they are just warnings to drivers, because of course a penalty can be anywhere from what is a warning for driving standards all the way through to a drive-through penalty, albeit hopefully we don't see too many penalties this season, because the race is absolutely brilliant. And Sebastian Bach right now looking to make some more progress here, and well, with other drivers falling down the order, he's now looking to try and make an impression, trying to go around the outside of Lauritsen, outside to inside of the bus stop chicane. Lauritsen's still there, and well, as they make the way onto another lap and we reach the halfway point of this race, well, we can see the camera there in the bottom right of Sebastian Bach, and right now absolutely cool as a cucumber as he makes his way down in towards La Source. I mean, both tries go in there, but then Lauritsen goes on the inside, back tucks in behind. But now, of course, the thing will be, as they make the way up towards Uruj and Radion, it's going to be all about the draft. And I think you raised a good point earlier, Hassett, in the fact this could be a very tactical race. I mean, some of the drivers have absolutely gone all in so far, but I wonder if 1 or 2 of them right now are starting to think to themselves, you know what, relax a little bit, we've got 10 minutes to go, focus on how I'm going to be set up for the last 2 laps. That's where I can take the victory.
I'm thinking a little bit about the number 4 car, currently in 4th place as well as Nikolaj Pedersen. He's gained 7 positions already this race. He's been on an absolute charge, and he's within 1 second of the race leader, coming from pretty far back on the grid. That is some really good racecraft on his behalf, and I think maybe taking that slightly more tactical approach to it, trying to stay out of those really heated battles, and then just trying to gain when everybody else is making the mistakes, or just getting a little bit too involved with one another here. That could end up being a solid strategy. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Oh, 100%. And sometimes to win, you just need to stay out of trouble, at least as they do normally say. The saying goes, to finish first you must finish. And that is going to be on the forefront of the minds of a good number of drivers here as our leaders continue to push on. And well, right now, it does seem as though our top 10 is gradually starting to fan out to a degree. We are seeing a number of drivers now starting to form into smaller packs as we do right on board here with Noah Carlson, currently in P3, and our top three have started to inch a little bit away from the chasing pack, albeit half a second to Pearson in P4. So therefore, it's not quite the fact we've got a top three that have sprinted off into the distance, but it does seem as though time is continuing to move on the side of the leaders, and well, as they roar their way on down towards Blanchimont corner. Well, right now, Carlson, I think, is not going to try and entertain too much two-way, because I think he can see that he might be able to just make a break from the rivals behind, albeit pulls out the immediate draft there, puts himself on the outside line, and well, that can be for one or two reasons. It can be to simply say to the driver in front, look, I don't want to make a move, or it can be a dummy, of course. We've got a lock up there from the Ritson as he battles side by side still. Ooh, and there's a tap between the two of them, only that was almost close to curtains.
A little bit of argy-bargy there, Paul, and I think they're quite lucky to have gotten away with another send from the 12 car on the 9 machine there. That's Kasper Rishøj Andersen. I'm sorry, Kasper Rishøj Andersen. Of course, we do have a connecting run between the two names. But a very good move from him. That touch before there, as close as they come without really going wrong. And that's what we love to see, Paul, with driving at this level, with racing at this level. It's the excitement. It's the pure closeness in nature of this sort of racing that makes it so good to watch. Close to having another 3 wide here, I think. Noah Carlson, as we saw before, seems to be taking a, or dare I say, relaxed approach, Paul, but he's certainly holding back. He's not attacking at every moment. I think he's just waiting for his chance to really seize the moment and see if we can get the better of the well, after all, teammates, although they won't be racing as teammates here, that's for sure, Paul. But he's biding his time, and I like this approach. Let's see if he brings him anything more than what has already brought him here, which is a fine 3rd place.
Oh, 100%. And it's a good point you raised there in regards to our two leaders of Victor Nilsson and Malte Edrup, in the fact they're both racing for what is the Arctic Sim Sport by the ROEP DK team. And well, with that in mind, of course, this is a championship which is about the individual drivers are taking the accolade for the ultimate Division 1 crown. But given your teammates out there, I mean, first and foremost, the one thing you don't want to do is you never want to take your teammate out of the race. As we see a big run wide there from Nilsson, absolutely pushing it to the limit out of Stablo 1 into Stablo 2. He's going to have to be careful abusing that too much, of course, because he might be picking up a few off tracks. But as they roar their way out towards what will be Blanchimont, well, meanwhile, you can see Carlson there looking from one side then to the other, and I think now starting to play some slight mind games here with Edward in the looks through into Blanchimont. Meanwhile, 2 wide into Blanchimont. There goes the battle for P4 as they head up towards the bus stop chicane, and again 2 by 2 they go almost, and well, we look back up to the front and Carlson up the inside of Idrup in towards the bus stop, and he loses out there on the second apex. But I think now he's started to show his signs, and it is, I'm attacking here as we head into the final 5 minutes.
I said before, Paul, that they wouldn't be racing as teammates, but you saw that slight jink right there from Victor Nilsson, just giving the toe to his teammate Malte Edrup and making sure that Noah Carlson would only get the side toe there. Of course, there is a bit of a draft when you go side by side with someone. It's not just straight behind the car, but it's obviously stronger there in the middle. And you also saw it just make the difference that allowed Malte Edrup to fend off Noah Carlson there in second place, and the battle for second place. So interesting team tactics that are going on from the Arctic drivers there. Another move might be coming. They're getting swamped from behind. Look at it, here goes Nikolaj Pedersen. And he's taken 3rd place, at least provisionally. He's going to be on the outside, a slight touch between the two. And Paul is holding his head in disbelief that they actually managed to pull this off. And I'm not very far off of doing it myself. This is some of the best racing I've seen in quite a number of years, and commentating here on iRacing. This is beautiful. It is poetry in motion, an absolute racing art form we're seeing here tonight from these drivers. Some of the very best, Paul. I am up and running with this, that is for sure.
Oh, you said it perfectly. I mean, my jaw absolutely dropped there. How they got through that with just a tap and a couple of lockups. I mean, that goes to show you the professionalism with which they're racing. I mean, we are always going to have moments where it goes across the line, but like that was absolutely incredible racing. We love to see it as they make their way through the Fangio chicane. But in all this, with the top 3 battling, what is noticeable, oh, a big run wide there, and that is Pearson going all the way out onto the gravel and then bringing himself back onto the circuit for Stavlo 1. But the point is that fighting amongst the top 3 has now brought the entire variety of what is the top 7 to within 2 seconds of each other. This single camera shot can be summarized by 7 cars, 2 seconds. You do the mathematics, that's barely any time between each and every car if they were equally spaced. And as they roar their way up towards Blanchimont, well, now you can see Edrup and what is Victor Nielsen. They're starting to run off a little bit more, but again, that half a second gap is nothing in terms of these Formula 4 cars. They roar their way down towards the braking zone, but here comes Asker Luritzen looking around the outside. Too wide, they go in to the bus stop chicane. He's going to hook it absolutely as hard as possible here. It's Nikolai Pearson, but as they make the way onto another lap, 3.5 minutes to go, 2 more laps are racing at the helm here, and Luritzen, you can see it on the camera, he's getting frustrated, he wants to get ahead, but he can't find a way through. Every time he goes through it, there's just an answer for Pearson right now. He's going to have to find a way in that number 13 to reinvent the book of overtaking, and well, he's running out of time as they make the way onto what arguably is going to be the penultimate lap, but here we go once again, has it up onto the Kemmel Straight shortly, and well, will it be fireworks this time?
I think it's been fireworks pretty much every time, Paul, but we might just see it again this time around here as Victor Troslo Nielsen's got a very good run on Malte Edrup. Now let's see how much of teammates they actually are. They're going to be side by side this time around, and a good run here for Asker Lauritsen, who might just grab a hold of third place with Nikolai Pearson. Third 2, no 3 wide in the battle for third place behind, manages to pull it off yet again. I think we have to notice and just mention as well that the number 1 car, I think we got it on screen as well, but the number 1 car of Marcus Olsen has been given a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. That's going to be rather a disaster for Marcus Olsen. Let's hope he is able to bounce back from that in the second heat of racing here, as Victor Troslo Nielsen does take the lead away from Mads Edrup. Paul, this is going to be, I think, the penultimate lap of this opening heat. These 20 minutes of racing has absolutely flown by, and it has been just brilliant here. Mads Edrup still with a chance to really retake the lead. He could do it into the bus stop. I think if I were him, I'd probably try to wait until the end of the Kemmel Straight, because your odds of defending it is just going to be that little bit better.
Oh, 100% with you there, but the question will be, what is everybody thinking? Because this now becomes a high-speed game of proverbial chess, and every driver in this pack now will need to think about the 4 or 5 different moves that the rivals can make. And, well, for Edrup, as he chases after his teammate Victor Nielsen and the 2 leaders here, they head into Blanchimont corner. This isn't the time where you want to pounce, but you've got to be mindful, the closer and closer you get, if you start backing off the throttle, your rivals might consider pouncing. So will they swap themselves around here, or at least will Edrup look to try and go for a move? No, he doesn't. Pulls that inside line, but backs it off slightly, and now he's going to go all in on the final lap. The white flag waves, there's the sign, 1 to go, and as they coming out, we can see the battle for P3. Luritzen having to go absolutely defensive to the outside. That's going to enable the door to be open for Pearson, but he's not close enough to look on the inside. Noah Carlson as well just tucks back in. They're all thinking one thing, there's a long stretch coming up, and if we're all in the tow, then we could all just simply go for it down the Kemmel Straight. But here we go then, as they roar their way up towards Aruj and Radion, and I'm stumbling over my words here, Hasse, because I think this is going to be a nail-biter.
I was just about to say, Paul, if there was tactics involved in any part of this race, they go out the window now. It's all for himself and all for everyone to try and get the win of this race. And I think it'll be a bit of a far-fetched one to say that Sebastian Bach could come from seventh, to win it. But still, it could actually happen. And look at this, Asker Lauritsen, as he's too wide with Malte Edrup, holds on to the exit nut right there, and there's too much happening for me to cover everything. Brilliant move though from Lauritsen to take second place away from Victor Nielsen, who's down into third, Nikolai Pearson fourth, and Noah Carlson rounding off the top 5 as we speak.
Oh, that's how they are currently as they make their way halfway into this final lap. But how will they become the bus stop? That will be the big question. But Lauritsen absolutely going all in as we look back from the rear of the leader's car, going a bit wide out of Perron corner, and Malte Edrup at this point, he's absolutely pushing it. You can see the steel and determination on his face and the trophies in the background. He is a man who's absolutely committed here. But that number 13 has come out of nowhere in this race. It has gained 3 places since the start. And well, as our drivers roar their way up towards what will be Stablo 1. one. Well, Lauritsen right now absolutely here thinking that he might be able to steal this race from everybody, given the fact that he's really been a secondary character all the way up to the last couple of minutes, but now he's announced himself on the main stage. But I get the feeling he may not have the opportunity to, because here comes Nielsen. Nielsen tucks in behind here, and now it's going to be Lauritsen who finds himself in the Arctic Sandwich as they head in towards Francorchamps corner, and Edrup only has 2 more corners and a short sprint to the finish line, but Lauritsen's there, so is Nielsen, and the 3 come down. They head towards the braking zone. It's going to be 2 wide on the inside. It's going to be 3 wide. It's not to be, as Edrup goes defensive. Lauritsen goes as deep as possible, but Edrup says no and parks it right on the inside. They come out the final corner. The checker flag waves, and it's going to be another Edrup who takes a victory, but they're coming home P2. It'll be Victor Nielsen just ahead of Asger Lauritsen with a top 5 completed by Nikolai Pearson, or is it? No, it's Noah Carlson who just swipes into P4 ahead of Nikolai Pearson right at the line. Goodness me, that's your top 5, and Hasse, what a way to end the race.
Brilliant. We saw a sprint even to the line. There was like a bike race in there with a brilliant finish. Just lining it up there for Victor Nielsen to grab second place in what looked to be a move that was just off. But he made it stick. He made it happen. I think in a moment's time, once we have the final cars across the line, we're going to have the results up. And in final there, Paul, what an opening round of racing here. What a way to kick off the season. This was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, 100%. And if you guys and girls at home have never tuned in to what is the F4 Esports Danish Championship, well, there is the reason why you should tune in year after year. And that's just race 1 of round 1 of the 2025 Championship. And if we've had that much racing in our first race of the season, well, you can imagine how close and tight it is going to be as we make our way into our second race of the season, which is coming up in due course. Of course, we do have a top 8 reverse grid for this one. We're just getting set at the moment, and very shortly we're going to have those results on screen for you from our first race. But an absolutely brilliant race, back and forth. It had heroics, it had some moments as well while drivers did have come-ins together, but of course that is always first round nerves. You're always going to see a couple of little sketchy moments between drivers, but they'll get through it all. The stewards have also been active there, so our stewards have got plenty of practice and they've been able to show it. And well, I mean, race number 2, I think we're going to see even more of the same. But do you think some drivers might cool down, or do you think they might warm up now in terms of the racing?
I think some of the drivers might have learned a thing or two just about maybe not going for every possible move that you can. But, this one can't be seen in the results. That is actually true. We're going to cover that as we move along. But what a brilliant race, Paul. My apologies for just getting sidetracked there for a moment. I don't know if you would have really taken that much. For anyone who's had bad luck in the opening round, it's another chance of trying to go for it again. I think we're going to see another 20 minutes of the same come round 2. I can't really fathom it being, let's say, well, I wouldn't say dull, because it would never be dull in any sort of way with this kind of racing, would it? But a quieter version of what we've just seen, I wouldn't expect it. I think maybe even just a few tempers have been flared up, and we'll see some of the drivers being even more raring to go.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I think race number 2 will just see things that step up a little bit more from what is race number 1. And well, keeping that in mind, of course, with that partial reversal of the grid, that also does mean that we will see some drivers start out of position. Some of the faster drivers, perhaps, such as our winners, starting further down. So they've got to fight their way through. And drivers who, in the end, finished quite some way down, well, in their mindset, they're now going to be in the full process of, I need to try and hold on to this because I can score some big points in what is that partial reverse grid race. But that is where it all comes down to driver mentality, and also just how quickly drivers want to carve their way through the field or carve themselves off into the distance. But definitely it's going to be one of the situations whereby when you flip part of the grid going into the next race based on those results, it gives an opportunity. But also, will we see any drivers who end up in early instance in race number 1? Could they benefit from what is that top 8 inversion? That will be also on their mind. Have they been able to fight the way up the order, as we'd see one of our drivers just making the way up the Reiser, Uruj and Bradion, getting every minute and every second of practice that they can into this session. And well, we spoke about earlier, Hassan, the fact that every lap they turn, I mean, these drivers practice these laps until they can do it in their sleep and with their eyes closed, albeit we won't see any of them racing with their eyes closed, hopefully. But I can tell you one thing, I mean, the effort is showing.
Definitely so, and you would expect the drivers to basically be able to do this track in their sleep even before coming into practice, because of course we have the Spa-Francorchamps. Most of the drivers will have done endurance racing here as well, 6-hour races, formula races, GT3 sprints. Just a track that's getting so much usage and seen so much visit, because as we said into the lead out here and in the build up, 45% of the grid here has this track noticed as their favorite track, and you really see it out there. Everybody knows their way around here perfectly, and it's given us a real classic of racing here in the first heat. Still waiting for the results to come up on screen. Hopefully we'll get them up before the second heat here. So apologies on getting a few of the informations that were given on the second screen mixed up. What couldn't be shown was, of course, the 10-second penalty that was given to the number 1 car in that final race, in the first race, sorry, my apologies, for causing a collision. So we're just seeing if we can get those results up on screen. If not, we'll probably have it at the end of the race to just give you an overview. 30 seconds of warm-up left here, Paul. It's getting closer.
Oh, indeed. And well, whilst the circuit may be cooling slightly with not too many drivers out of circuit, sure enough, it is going to get a very hot and feisty circuit in very close future. And well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gone away briefly to go get yourself liquid refreshment or go get yourself some popcorn, you're definitely going to need to do it quickly, because when we get underway with race number 2, you will not want to leave your seat. Whether you got it on the TV, the PC screen, on your phone, or wherever, it is going to be a race where you won't be able to peel your eyes away for a second, because our Formula 4 race absolutely delivering here in the racing for what is the DASU Danish F4 Esports Championship for 2025. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for race number 2 as we do get that transition underway. And well, here at a rather sunny Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, we've got a grid being set, I do believe, and I'll hand over to my colleague Hasse to walk you through that grid when they do arise. But whilst we are waiting for that grid to gradually come into position, I think we've still got a couple of drives to make the way on, and then we will be good. And there is the grid. Over to Hasse.
Markus Terkelsen, the privateer, number 15 car, on pole position with Sebastian Bach. Then Kasper Rishøj Andersen in third, and we're a little bit fast there. I didn't catch him quite. I can tell you that in fourth it's Nikolaj Pedersen with Noah Carlson fifth. Then Aske Lauritsen, Victor Nielsen, and Malte Ebdrup in 8th place, as you can see here. Luke Reimer gets 9th with Markus Olsen 10th, Frederik Sørensen in 11th, Jens Christensen 12th, Magnus Jørgensen in 13th, with Mithus Bever getting 14th place for this race. Gustav Kille 15th. Then Niklas Simonsen, Mads Lunde, Martin Buch Bertelsen, Kasper Thunsted in 19th. And Niklas Tebein and Sander Broberg rounds it off. And we're already green here, Paul, as they come roaring down towards turn 1. It's Markus Terkelsen trying to hold the inside, and everyone in this field will hope for a clean venture. And I think there might have been a little bit of trouble all the way at the back. We do see, because we heard it as well, just the crunching sound of someone having an incident. That La Source up through Radion they go, Arouge, and now the Camel Straight for the first time, 20 minutes again, and immediately, Paul, we're 4 wide.
We're 4 wide as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight, and that is going to be Rishøj Andersen versus Pearson, also Bach and Kilson. And as they come down, well, who's going to be leading in towards late comments? The question, and the answer is Nikolaj Pearson, who takes it in the P4, who takes it in the number 4 into P1, I should say. Get my numbers, my nomenclature mixed up there. But as they roar their way down towards Brussels corner, you can see all the field here now starting to marshal the way under braking. Bit of a late move there further down in the picture. I do believe that might be a move on from Bertelsen for what is P14. Trying to go for it, but as they come out of the left-hander and down towards Coron Corner, you can see Pearson and what is Rishøj Andersen putting pressure on each other here in the lead, and this causes the entire field now to stagger behind for a brief moment. Everyone immediately returns to the racing line as they come down through the left-hand at the Coron and then in towards the Fender chicane they go. And well, despite there being an incident, I think Jens Christensen was involved in a bit of contact at La Source. We might get a replay of that in due course, because he's all the way down in P21, having started what was P12. He's the only driver who's really lost out at the start of this race in what would appear to be an incident. It's a bit off the pace, but otherwise all the field right now together. But you can already see some small gaps starting to emerge, but it is really for the leader as they head out of Stablo 2.
Yeah, and onto the Paul Frere straight here with Nikolaj Pedersen leading the way ahead of Kasper Rishøj Andersen. Sebastian Bach in third with Markus Terkelsen and Noah Carlson rounding off the top 5 here in the opening lap. And it's going to be too wide into Blanchimont here as Kasper Rishøj Andersen is looking for a way past, and he might just find it into the bus stop. There might have been a slight tap 3 wide into the bus stop, and surely this can't work out, but it just about does. And Nikolaj Pedersen is going to keep a hold of the lead here. Amazing stuff. What a bit of racing there. It seems like magic that they're able to just weave their way through together, Paul. And when you see it, you hardly believe your eyes here. It's brilliant.
Oh, goodness me. I've had to pinch myself multiple times given how brilliant the race it is. And as they roar their way onto lap number 2, well, Nikolaj Pedersen, how he's holding on to that lead right now, despite it all. That goes to show you his commitment and the whole field coming up behind. Meanwhile, got 2 wide there on entry in towards what was the run of a Rouge, and I believe that was 2 wide between Luke Reimer and Fredrik Sørensen. There's still 2 wide in the rear of the picture, but meanwhile at the front, everyone scatters. Oh, goodness me, somebody going out onto the grass there, and well, that's a very inventive way. They're pushing the limits there of what is the track. They're going to go for it, though, as it's going to be 4 wide, but everyone starts to settle down, and we'll say, oh, no, it's all gone wrong, and that is going to be with multiple cars going straight onto the escape road there, and, well, they all tried to go 4 wide another time around, but this time it's gone wrong, and I believe that is the car there falling all the way down the order of what will be at Rishøj Andersen getting collected, but that means Terkelsen has now moved his way into the lead of all this. Well, goodness me, I think our live stewarding team have now got their work absolutely cut out for them, trying to dissect that one, but at the same time, I think all the drivers right now, minus what is Rishøj Andersen, are going to be thinking, how on earth did we just make it out of that? And well, everyone did negotiate that as best as possible, but to see a number of drivers have to use the escape road there, very quick thinking on their behalf, that's brilliant race sense from them as well. It means our top 2 now breaking away, but the fighting's not over yet, Hasse, because meanwhile, behind now, it's a big scramble for P3, albeit the leaders are 1.5 seconds off of the distance, and, well, that means they're just now in a position whereby they can try and run away with this.
Yeah, it's certainly a gift to be handed for Markus Terkelsen and Noah Carlson. They just have to not fight it too hard between one another there with 1.8 seconds of a lead to this following pack. And I believe, Paul, it's been really, really tough luck for Malte Edrup, who is down in 21st place at the moment. As you said, Kasper Rishøj Andersen also involved in some of the calamities there. Markus Olsen also finding himself way down. This is some of the stronger drivers, some of the drivers that we had marked off as favorites. As 3 wide into the bus stop yet again, and they just about make it through. But some of the drivers that we had as favorites, who are sort of more or less out of the race here, with still 15 minutes left to go. This has really opened the door for some of the outsiders to go and have a real attempt at this one. And it's looking really good for Noah Carlson, who's taking the lead away from Markus Terkelsen, the 2.8 seconds clear of this following bunch. And this just goes to show, Paul, once you start fighting, you're going to lose out big time.
Well, that's the thing. You're spot on. And with that now, it really becomes that fight for P3. And the fight for P3 will feel like a win for these drivers in this pack, given the fact the leaders have gone. However, if the leaders do start to fight later on, which they're doing a bit of swap back and forth, you can see that in the foreground of the camera shot here as they come down towards what is at Lake Com. Well, if the leaders continue to just go to me, to you, they keep handing off the lead for the time being until the last couple of laps, then they'll never be caught, and therefore the fight for P3 really will take centre stage in that mid-pack, and therefore it's proverbially that our drivers start to fight over what is the scraps of the points rather than the prime accolade. But they're not thinking about that right now. They're just thinking about trying to gain time on each other. As we can see at Luke Reimer there, well, in P4 trying to inch ahead of Victor Nielsen, and Nikolaj Pedersen falling back there as Pedersen and Nielsen get very, very close together once again. And well, I can tell you one thing, there's no love lost between those two, and the fact they've been fighting each other incredibly hard over the course of this race distance so far. Coming down through at Paul now, and well, to give you some updates, ladies and gentlemen, on what has been some instance earlier on. The lap 1 incident we saw at La Source briefly, albeit it was primarily off camera. There's been no further action, and also the number 4 has picked up a drive-through for causing a collision Belgian, and the number 4 car being that of what is Nicolai Pearson. So I believe Pearson has been found at fault for what happened at the end of the Kemmel Straight, only what was a lap or two ago, and therefore that's going to be a frustrating turn of events for number 4 driver, as meanwhile our top 2 here just continue to run on. They've been out of trouble, they've stayed clear of it all, and we said earlier on, Hasse, that sometimes if you just stay clear of the danger, you're on for a good result. Where if you're Tekilson or Noah Carlson right now, you're going to be thinking to yourself, I'm not just on for a great result, I could be on for the win.
Yeah, definitely so, and these two have literally put themselves in pole position to try and do just that. And you can see it as well. They're being pretty clever about it, not fighting one another too hard, at least not fighting it at every opportunity like we saw at the head of the race through the entirety of the first heat here. So the great minds will sort of come to the front sometimes. Even also just throw a bit of luck, I guess. Sometimes it's skill, sometimes it's luck, sometimes you can try to stay out of the trouble, out of the real hard battling, and an incident is gonna conspire against you from ahead, and you're gonna have nowhere to go, and it just sort of takes you out of the race anyways. So there really isn't any way to just make sure that you played 100% safe. Sometimes you just have to gamble that little bit. What we saw earlier this race, on one of the opening laps, cars fully on the grass trying to overtake down the Kemmel Straight. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I think this is a first one for me even. So some pretty insane racing going on, and it's still happening here. You can see this battle for third place too wide, all the way through Le Combe here, in through Malmedy, now down the hill, down towards the Brussels hairpin. And it's all just sort of settling down for a brief moment. Victor Nielsen third, Luke Reimer in fourth, Niklas Simonsen in fifth place. Those are the cars that are currently in shot in picture. Noah Carlson and Marcus Takkelsen, the number 3 and 15 cars that are currently first and second, just appearing at the near end of your screen. That was a few moments ago, but it happens so again and poetically. That's right anyways. Anyway, Paul, 11 minutes into this race, so getting close to the halfway marker here. Is there anything you would say quickly to sum up how this second heat has been so far?
Well, coming on to your point about some of the overtakes that were attempted on the Kemmel Straight, where we saw the multiple 4 wide, I get the feeling, Hasse, no joke, when our drivers signed up for this season and they saw the fact the number 4 was in the championship title, I think they took that as the idea that they have to go 4 wide every time they look to go for an overtake. Not quite so, it didn't quite work out, but still, that goes to show you the fact that they actually enjoy these F4 cars. And I think the takeaway really has been so far in this race, as we go deeper into it, is the fact it is entirely unpredictable, and the fact, as we were mentioning earlier, some of our big names here in this round are favourites, if you will, going into this season. They've had perhaps the hardest run of them all so far, and well, we have multiple examples, including what is it, Marcus Olsen, but this is enabling other drivers to really come up and get right stuck into the fight. But what that is going to do as this season goes on, it's only going to make the races even tighter, and therefore we'll have drivers who are looking to try and turn things up the other way in terms of those results as they make the way onto what is another lap here, and when we do have what is a stop and go 10-second penalty for the number 4 as well. So just to add to what is the woes for Nicolai Pearson, well, now it's gone from what has been a drive-through to a stop and go 10-second penalty, and that is going to be absolutely a frustrating way to end the day in Belgium. But meanwhile, coming back to what's on the screen here, let's not forget we've got the brilliant racing 3 wide once again here, and this is going to be Nielsen, Simonsen and also Reimer. Now, who is going to emerge the leader of the 3 of the cars here? I think they're all Arctic teammates, and well, in the end, they managed to show a little bit of team decorum, and it will be Niklas Simonsen who makes his way up into P3. But we keep seeing this exchange, Hasse. I get the feeling right now the Arctic guys are trying to just create a bit of a rolling roadblock, and they want that fight for P3 to come at the end of the race.
Yeah, because you see the fighting every time they sort of pull alongside one another and go too wide into a corner. It's going to cost them 4 or 5 tenths of a second, and with that, it has a slight air of resignation about it from these guys, at least in terms of trying to race for the win here, which of course is pretty understandable. Although, also, you might think with 3 teammates down here that they would be interested in sort of really just trying to get the head down and see if they would actually be able to somewhat close that gap with 9 minutes just about 9 minutes of racing here left. Of course, could go and be difficult. And who am I to question those kind of decisions anyways? But a dweeb. Noah Carlson leads Marcus Terkelsen 0.5 of a second between the two. Of course, that's going to be well within the toe for Marcus Terkelsen. He can still very much so gain that back and make a move in the swift wave of a wand, more or less, Paul. Here it's further down, Kasper Tunstad losing a position to Magnus Jørgensen. And here is still a double too wide as the number 9 car, Sebastian Bach's trying to make a move. He's trying to pin himself in between the Arctic cars. And actually, by the looks of it, so far at least, looks like he's having a pretty good round of success doing so.
Oh, indeed. And also, something that happened there into the braking zone for Buster, there was some contact between what was Victor Nilsson and also, I believe, Nicholas Simonsen. The two of them had a bit of tap, nose to tail under braking. And I think now we are starting to see what is that risk of Sebastian Bach just making his way up for this group. We're right on board here with our P6 driver on Victor Nilsson. Doesn't look as though there's any damage on that front wing despite the contact to the rear of Nicholas Simonson's car. But here we go, then coming out of Radion onto the camera straight this time. You can see the Arctic drivers all trying to for the line here, and well, it's now going to be the double draft to enable Nilsson to take one, to take two. Up front, you can see there Carlson just simply showing a little bit of a wave to Kilson, but then we come to the battle for P3, and well, as they roar their way right into left here, it's Sebastian Bach who now falls back to P6 with Luke Reimer being the first guy who's got to try and find his way through, and as they roar their way outwards down towards Brussels hairpin, you can see on the back of this group as well, we have Martin Buch-Bertelsen, and well, he's just watching a bit of a contact there, bit of elbows out, and well, it looks as though Bach's just able to survive that almost running wide there, but not so. But that enables Bertelsen to move up a place, and I get the feeling Sebastian Bach will not be too happy with that one.
He is going to be absolutely fuming with that one, Paul. I think no question about it. Then immediately trying to send it into Pujo. Of course, not the best place to try and overtake these cars. It can be done. They're so small, but in anything else, I certainly wouldn't recommend trying the big moves in that place. So we have a replay from what I think was the first penalty-causing incident.
Indeed, we're getting a mixture of replays here of different incidents throughout, including, I believe this was a little bit later on, where we did have what was a bit of scrapping for the lead at the time, and so our drivers running a little bit wide there. So we're just catching up with some of the moments, and well, now we come back to live pictures here, and as it looks as though with that battle for P3 going on 6 minutes still on the clock, there's been so much to encapsulate here that we only can quickly get a quick flick to those replays, and then we're right back in the thick of it once more.
Yeah, for someone like myself who's been used to commentating on endurance racing, here we see that contact through Lecombe, and this is the one who caught the number 1 car out, as well as Frederik Sørensen, some of the main contenders of the first heat, really getting themselves into trouble early days there in Heat 2, and heartbreak for all of them basically. But for someone like myself who's done a lot of endurance racing commentary, racing like this is just absolutely frantic. There's no place to really stick it in there. Oh my word! As Kasper Rishøj Andersen goes airborne and then finds the barriers, that's going to be no fun to him. Back to live pictures, Paul, and the battle for the lead is Noah Carlson, and Marcus Terkelsen is beginning to think about which of the two drivers is actually going to run away with the win here, because they've been very good friends so far, breaking away as they have been. And I think now within these final 5 minutes of racing, they're beginning to realize that their lead will most probably hold. It's 5.5 seconds plus that little bit extra to this pack of machines behind. And now they can start to think about trying to settle it between them. It's going to be an interesting two-man duel there for the race win.
Oh, 100%. And, well, I think there was no way better saying it than the way you've put it, Hassett, in the fact that now they'll start to scrap a little bit more. They will start to take a little bit of time out of each other. They'll both be thinking about who wants to be leading going on to that final lap and who wants to be behind. Of course, ideally, given how powerful the toe is around here, you want to be the driver who's behind going on to that lap. And on the Kemmel Straight, there's so much width to play with. But meanwhile, there's not as much relief here for our battle for P3 as the long line of 5 cars of Ryan ahead of Simonsen, then Nielsen back and Bertelsen continue on. We ride on board here with our P6 driver, Sebastian Buck, as he makes his way through Stavlo to fighting at the helm of that steering wheel there. And well, as he does so, right now, just doing everything in his power in order to be able to try and stay close. How on earth he's able to take that right-hander only one-handed? Well, that goes to show you a bit of arm strength there as well, as the 3 in front all right now, all trying to find who's going to be the leader out of the group. It looks like there's a little bit of miscommunication and some understeer creeping in for our 3 heroes at the front of this pack. And now Buck's going to look around the outside, just gets it stopped on the white lines there. That is absolutely daring. And Buck will take one, he'll take 2, and moves up to P4. And I think if there was a contender for move of the season, one thing, ladies and gentlemen, my commentary with Hassett is speechless already, and so am I.
He was on the grass, Paul. He was on the grass, started breaking the cows, breaking away from as well towards the left as a soft flip, and then so magically the curbs appear. Then he can break, and he can just about nail it. That was amazing. Really, really good to see there from the 9 machine of Sebastian Bach. Niklas Simonsen up into 3rd place now, I believe. He's gained a bucket load of positions throughout the heat. He's had a really strong one, really navigating the chaos of Spa-Francorchamps, even without rain, even without any sort of external things to throw extra chaos into it like that. Another round of 3-4 wide down the Kemmel Straight with 2.5 minutes left here. I'm saying it like it's becoming totally normal. Well, it has to become at some point. Can't keep screaming about it. This is the battle for the lead. Here's Noah Carlson goes side by side with Marcus Tagelson. And I think he just about keeps it. But Marcus Tagelson looking for every opportunity he can within the next 2 minutes, Paul. See if he can claim this race lead.
Oh, indeed, and they'll have one more lap after this. And whilst this is going on, a few more conundrums thrown into the mix, ladies and gentlemen. We do now have a 3-second time penalty for the number 19 of Luke Reimer, and that's causing a collision. We saw that earlier on at the Brussels hairpin, where it was that tap side by side at the time with, I believe, it was Sebastian Buck, who got elbowed wide. And, well, we do look to replay it. And, oh, goodness me, well, that's Sebastian Buck breaking his way down into what was the Brussels hairpin. I think there was some damage to the car before that, because to see it spin under braking there, but not putting that rear left tyre beyond what was the curb onto the grass, that would suggest there's been some premature contact, and we might be able to get a bit more context to that. But coming back to our live pictures here, we've got 1.5 minutes to go, so we will get what will be a 9th and final lap out of our drivers on our 2 protagonists at the front of the field. Noah Carlson leads by only a 10th over Marcus Takilson, and well, as they come right into left here, now the game is on, and there is a very interesting moment from Noah Carlson. Decides to let the car roll deep at the bus stop. He wants to be player number 2 in this. He wants to come from behind, and well, we get the split screen now to show you at the top of the screen the battle for the lead. At the bottom of your screen, it's the battle for P3. 2 big battles, all to settle who's going to be on that podium, and we head on to the final lap, Hassett. And well, right now, everywhere you look, there's action, and so much so our broadcast director said, well, here, you can look everywhere.
And we need those. We need that split. It's a brilliant time to bring it into use here. I'm thinking Noah Carlson could have gotten his elbows out a little bit too much. We saw that battle. They were definitely side by side. They were definitely really tussling here. As in the bottom hand corner, that is the car currently in 5th place, trying to make a move, which will be Victor Nielsen trying to gain a few positions. And his teammates now they're going again, and Noah Carlson is on the outside in the 3 car. He tussles ahead, but he goes wide and almost loses it. He just about keeps it under control. And Marcus Tagelson gets the run down towards Brussels here. They're going to be side by side for another round of scrapping. I was about to say, could it be that Carlson gave the position in order not to get a penalty and just to live to fight another day? I'm not quite sure. But if he didn't, it would have been a brilliant tactical way to do it, because you know that slipstream is going to leave you a sitting duck. But now they're side by side yet again here. The double left of Puhan, and just about keeps it within the limits. Both of them side by side all the way through, side by side as they exit as well. A slight little up tuck between the tires, but everything is all right. And I think Noah Carlson might just pull out of this one the winner. If he so can keep on and keep ahead down towards the bus stop. I don't think this is over yet, Paul.
No, it may not be over yet, and as they roar their way through Stablo 1 into Stablo 2, well, right now, has Marcus de Coulson got anything left in the tank here to take on Noah Carlson? Carlson has got a gap going on to the final long stretch towards Blanchimont of 3 tenths. Here we go then. One minor corner, albeit saying minor, it's Blanchimont, and then the bus stop where all the braking could come. But as our drivers make the way in towards Blanchimont, you can see there de Coulson looking around the outside, really trying to be adventurous. Now that is a very bold attempt at strategy, trying to go around the outside and using the runoff area there. They head 2 way down to the bus stop, and you can see there both drivers fighting hard, but it's going to be absolutely tooth and nail between them as they exit the final corner. The checkered flag waves. Is it de Coulson? Is it Carlson? And in the end, it's going to be Marcus de Coulson who takes victory by 33 thousandths of a second over Noah Carlson. I mean, they had to explore the circuit plus, but to be fair, we can't begrudge him. And in the battle for P3, it's Victor Nielsen who takes third place, as meanwhile the rest of the field comes across the line. P4 goes the way of Nicholas Simonsen, as we saw them at pretty much at a photo finish with Martin Bertelsen, and then just outside the top 5, Luke Reimer, as the last lot drivers come through, including there what will be Mez Luna and also Magnus Jorsson. But it's absolutely incredible race, Hasse. I mean, as the field now settles down, I get the feeling here our drivers have thrown everything at this one, and it has been an absolutely brilliant way to wrap up our race here at Spa-Francorchamps.
What a way to end it. I was sitting there contemplating, what do I even say about this? How to paint this with words? But what a beautiful, beautiful race ending. And that was absolutely to the limit, Paul. And maybe a little bit across it as well from the 2 leaders. And I think they're quite well aware of it. How they managed not really to tangle, but just almost sort of tangle for so long without really having a mishap. It's beyond me, but what a brilliant, brilliant race finish. One of the best ones I've ever seen. And really a good way to... a good way to end a brilliant set of heats here tonight. The results on screen: Marcus Terkelsen takes it by 0.03 of a second ahead of Noah Carlson. Victor Nielsen gets third, and then another photo finish there with Niklas Simonsen just getting it ahead of Martin Buch-Bertelsen, who rounds off the top 5. Luke Reimer gets 6th, I think, with the penalty there. We're ahead of Kasper Thunstad, then Sander Broberg and Niklas Weyen, with Mads Lunde rounding off the top 10. Magnus Janssen gets 11th ahead of Markus Olsen in the number 1 car, then Aske Lauritsen and Nikolaj Pedersen. Malte Ebdrup in 15th. That's not going to be satisfactory for him. I think we're pretty sure of that. 16th is going to be Sebastian Bach ahead of Jens Christensen. Kasper Rishøj Andersen in 18th with Gustav Kiel in 19th. Vitus Beber in 20th. And last but not least, Frederik Sørensen. Last place for him. I don't think we saw that one coming, Paul.
No, we definitely didn't. A very frustrating day for him, no doubt about it. And, well, an absolute shake-up in the results. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, those were the results provisional on screen. But I can tell you that we have recently just received word from our stewarding panel that the number 15 has received a 3-second penalty, which means Marcus de Coulson is demoted to P2, and it is Noah Carlson who has taken victory in our second of our 2 heats today. I mean, it was brilliant racing between them, but Hasse, I think you coined it as well in the fact that given how much they were scrapping there, and in the end both drivers being forced literally to run the racing circuit plus the runoff areas and everything else, well, somebody was going to be given a stern warning, if not a penalty. It's unfortunately fallen, but that's the way it goes. They pushed it to limit, but you can't take away from the fact they showed us brilliant mastery of those Formula 4 cars, and they also showed us, you know what, it's all about the winning, and it was respectful.
It was at the end. You gotta try it. I mean, you gotta try it in a situation like that, and we really just tried to chisel his nose in, and I guess it sort of worked. But the send was a little bit of a late one coming into the bus stop, and when it's that close, and yeah, I kind of see it. I see where the stewards are going with it, and it's going to be interesting to hear, Paul, when you get a chance in a moment to speak to Noah Carlson, just how he's going to put that in his own words, because he's just been a part of that. I would like to see, I don't know if any of the drivers are doing that, but a heart rate monitor in a situation like that. I guarantee you, Paul, it's going to be up into the 170s or something like that. What a brilliant way of finishing these 2 heats here tonight. in general, some of the best racing I've ever seen. I think if ever there's been a sort of, let's run a 2 times 20-minute commercial for why is sim racing great and why it's great to as a spectator sport as well, I think what we saw here tonight, Paul, is a brilliant example of just that. Beautiful racing. Beautiful.
Oh, I'd agree with you. In all my years of covering sim racing and real life motorsport, I can tell you one thing, Hasse, I've never seen it that close between drivers, but not just close, but so respectful. Even when they pushed it to the absolute limit, the fact they gave it the rule out there, and you can see it as well in the position of the cars, the body language, all of it. The fact they're giving it everything in those races. They may only be 20 minutes long, but to our drivers out there, it doesn't matter if it's 20 minutes or 20 hours. They are keeping their heads down and throwing everything at it, and it really sets up the scene up for what is going to be an absolutely epic 2025 season. And remember, that is just round number 1. I mean, we've got 5 more rounds as the championship goes on. I mean, this is just a taste of what's to come. I get the feeling that we're going to need heart rate monitors in the commentary booth by the end of this, just for the simple reason I think we're both going to be seeing our hearts leave our chest.
Well, actually, I could do that next time around. I do have a heart rate monitor, and I actually gladly would see if it gets my pulse running, the much it gets my emotions cooking, because it's been a hefty one. Respectful, yes, but also aggressive, and I like to see that. It's only 20 minutes. It's really one of those races where it's like, okay, now it counts. We got to do this now, and there isn't going to be forever to get these moves done and stuff. What we saw, 4 wide, 5 wide down the Camel Straight with a complete Formula 4 car off the grass and still not lifting off, still going for it. That is a real determination right there to just get on top of things. And I love to see that.
Oh, 100% with you there. Well, I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to get a word from our winner, Noel Carlson, but what we will do is we'll now look ahead to round number 2 in what is 2 weeks' time. And the fact, we'll head from Belgium to Japan for the one and only Okayama circuit. Save the date, the 3rd of February 2025. Time being, of course, what is 8 o'clock in the evening, Central European time. And that is where we will be going racing for our 2nd round of the season. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure here. I have been Paul Walsh, and alongside me has been none other than Hasse Roma. This has been round number 1 of what has been the Dansk Automobile Sports Union Formula F4 Championship, the Esports Championship, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time for round number 2 at Okayama. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay on track, and all the best.